Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And welcome to Sofa Reviews. Today we're suffering through Max Payne.
Released in 2008, it's a movie based on the game of the same name, starring Mark Wahlberg in the titular role.
So we start our thrilling action film with narration.
It's our hero, Max Payne, talking about things he believes in.
Luckily, he soon remembers that he's drowning and so shuts up.
Although he sinks back down and continues his narration, along with a flashback.
Why do you have baby written on the door? Is Max so stupid he needs every door to be labelled?
We then cut to the 1 week earlier building, where we see Max is working in the cold case department.
Which is quickly followed by clunky exposition from two people that we never see again.
His wife and kid were murdered. They never found the guy. That's his story.
That evening, Max heads to a train station, spotting 3 guys on a bench.
He flashes his watch, enticing them to follow him into the toilets.
They explain they want the watch, while Max explains that he's been following one of them.
Oh, hell no. What, you a cop or something?
Not tonight.
That just means you're off duty. You're still a cop.
Doug goes to grab the watch and accidentally knocks it onto the floor.
Taking advantage of the distraction from his specially lubricated watch, Max knocks out one goon, questions the other as the third runs away.
The third goon starts to have hallucinations of flying creatures attacking him.
Until he's hit by a very real train.
Max then decides to visit his snitch Trevor, who's hosting a party.
Max is spotted by a skank called Natasha, who is drawn to Max by a compelling need to advance the plot.
They have a brief chat before her sister Mona turns up and starts an argument.
Natasha quickly runs off to get some drugs before heading back with Max to his apartment.
Max wants to interrogate her, but she clearly has other ideas.
Fine, what was her name?
What are you talking about? Who?
The girl from the boring story you want to tell me? The one that ends with you living here? Very sad. I tell you what, call me by her name. Like this you can make love to her just like she never left you. Oh, Max, I miss you.
Get out.
But men usually love it when I pretend to be their dead wife.
She storms out, calling her drug dealer before getting attacked by her own hallucinations.
The next day, and Max is picked up by his former partner Alex and taken to a crime scene.
One of the guys already at the scene explains what he knows so far.
Where are we on the weapon?
We're nowhere yet. I mean, looks like a blade, but too much blood for that to be right.
Well, I think we're going to need some help to solve this one.
I just don't get it. Too much blood for a blade, yet not enough for an amusingly shaped vegetable.
Lads, don't worry. I've cracked it. She was ripped apart by hallucinations.
Alex explains that Max's wallet was found at the crime scene and that he was able to identify Natasha.
Now that's how you make a man feel guilty for not having sex with you.
Later on they argue, Max claiming that Alex didn't do enough to investigate the murder of his family.
Max storms off. We see that Mona is some form of crime boss, and Alex stumbles onto a coincidence.
He's noticed that one of Max's wife's killers has a tattoo very similar to Natasha's.
And because wing tattoos are earned, not given to people for a nominal fee, they must be connected.
Alex leaves a message asking Max to come over to his apartment to tell him what he's learned.
Max gets there to find Alex dead before being attacked by a series of jump cuts.
He manages to fire off a few shots before waking up in hospital with his friend BB.
Came in looking pretty bad, Max.
Which is odd, because most people coming into hospital look great.
He explains that for some reason Max is the main suspect in Alex's murder, and so Max decides to go to his funeral.
Meanwhile, Chris O'Donnell reads a review for Batman and Robin.
Actually, he's just read up about the murders, and he seems to think he knows what's going on, while Max gets a new shirt from BB.
They set up a scholarship in her name. Kept coming to me for suggestions about what she might want. I said art. She liked art, right?
No, she hated art and artists. She wanted them to get real jobs.
At the wake, Max goes to talk to Alex's wife before she has a go at him.
Are you happy now, Max? You made him think you hadn't done enough.
Not that I'm a massive fan of arguing with grieving widows, but he hadn't done enough. That's why he found another clue 3 years later.
As Max leaves, he's picked up for questioning by Jim Rivera of Internal Affairs.
How'd the girl have your wallet?
She stole it.
What do you mean stole? Like, picked your pocket?
How are you a policeman if you don't know what stealing is?
After a few more questions, Max storms off.
Hey, asshole, I got 2 bodies and 10 body bags.
2 bodies in 10 bags. Are you just wasteful, or have they somehow expanded after dying?
Max heads into Alex's office, finding the last number that Natasha called, as well as the information on the tattoo.
So he could write it on the photo, but not leave the information in the phone message that he left for Max.
Later on, Max meets with Mona again.
Owen was probably the last person who saw her alive.
Yeah? Except for the guy that left his wallet laying by her body.
Does that sound like something a homicide cop gets wrong?
I always leave my wallet next to corpses. It's the ultimate double bluff.
Mona decides that this is okay and goes with Max to see Owen, the last person Natasha spoke to.
He's having hallucinations, and so to keep him from the edge, Max approaches him with a gun.
Owen seems to be pulled out of the window by a hallucination before landing on a car.
And if that was Max's car, I'm sure they'll pin that death on him as well.
They head to a tattoo shop and ask for information.
That's a Norse Valkyrie. Vikings used to wear them for protection.
It's a tattoo of a wing. It could easily be an angel, or a bird, or a Red Bull advert.
The artist explains a bit about Norse mythology, but Max doesn't seem too interested.
You said people get the tattoo as protection. What are they afraid of?
The crushing futility of life?
Mona is told the bad guy, Lupino, is at the Club Ragnarok.
Meanwhile, Max randomly goes to a warehouse where he discovers that some of his wife's work is missing.
He explains this to Bibi, who suddenly seems worried and decides to call Lieutenant Bravura.
Apparently the film, Bibi, felt it was time to give us a full explanation of Max's backstory.
We see a flashback of the day that Max's family were killed.
Michelle!
Well, it's lucky that wasn't Michelle, or a neighbour, or a plumber.
Max notices someone go through a window, but is too distraught to go after them.
Thankfully, despite being the only survivor at the scene, Max wasn't the prime suspect on this occasion.
The next day, Max decides to go see Chris O'Donnell.
And it turns out that Max also saw Batman and Robin.
After questioning, he explains that Max's wife was killed because of drugs created by the company as some sort of super soldier serum.
He agrees to help Max in exchange for protection, giving him some evidence that he just happened to have with him before getting shot.
Quickly grabbing the evidence, Max runs from the SWAT team.
Luckily, Max's blind fire from his pistol that never runs out of ammo is more accurate than the specially trained policemen with assault weapons.
Max encounters Lieutenant Bravura, but their chat is interrupted by the SWAT team.
This also allows us to enjoy the effective communication methods employed by SWAT.
After Max escapes, Mona finds him at an undisclosed location watching a video about the drug.
Great generals have always known the one fundamental truth of warfare. Morale wins battles.
Yeah, it's obviously got nothing to do with tactics, training, technology, supply lines, or numerical advantage.
So Max heads to the club, certain that Lupino killed his wife after watching the video.
He shoots his way through the place, even managing to show off his jack-in-the-box ability.
Max finds Lupino and they have a brief battle in which Max is easily outclassed.
However, Bibi inexplicably knew that Max was there and so shows up in the nick of time to save him.
He leads Max away only to knock him out, handcuff him and reveal that he was the one that killed Max's family.
What was I supposed to do? Michelle kept nosing around. Some boxes from a dead project went missing.
Right, so you had to kill his wife to protect the company and the drug. But what vital evidence did the baby know that meant you had to kill her as well?
Rather than killing Max then, Bibi seems to want to make it look like suicide and gives Max a chance to escape.
They could just wait for a while to make sure that Max has drowned or frozen to death, but decide to bugger off instead.
And so we find ourselves at the start of the movie as Max sinks into the water.
He sees a flashback of his wife, which reminds him he doesn't have time for any self-indulgent drowning.
Max crawls out of the water and decides to take some drugs.
Apparently, despite causing hallucinations and designed to combat fear, it also somehow prevents death by hypothermia.
We see Bibi leaving his office before Max turns up, killing the guards.
And this gives us the joy of seeing Mark Wahlberg on drugs.
He fights his way through the building before collapsing, leaving himself prone for one of the goons.
However, Mona inexplicably knew Max was there and shows up in the nick of time to save him.
She helps Max up and even goes to kill some of the goons herself.
This is followed by the best bit of the film.
Eventually Max confronts BB on a roof as no helicopter was sent to evacuate him.
BB attempts to make conversation about the weather, and so Max shoots him to end the film.
And in conclusion, there are some nice things to point out about this movie. The visual style, for one, is actually quite good. Every outdoor scene has a nice dark and gritty noirish style to it, kind of similar to the best part about The Spirit, which was, again, the visuals. The only real bits of sunlight in the movie are at the end of the film or in the flashbacks where it shows Max's family being murdered.
Yeah, it was a very nice subtle effect of, that was when he was happy, and so it is sunny. Now he is miserable, and so it is dark. It's like filmmaking for 3-year-olds.
The film does have some good special effects though, such as the Valkyrie pulling Owen out of the window was really well done, as well as the flaming sky near the end, which was very enjoyable.
Although bizarrely that made me think more of a Devil May Cry film than a Max Payne film. And they never fully explain the drug. It's meant to make people immune to fear, but can also send people mad and allows them to ignore bullet wounds and hypothermia. I'm not quite sure how they were planning to market a drug that sends 99% of its users insane and or dead.
At least most of the casting is good, most of the actors doing a very good job in their roles. The best example being Almari Lonasco, who plays Lupino. He does a really good job of playing an ex-military super soldier who's powered up on special drugs. I also like how easily he beats Max in both of their encounters.
Although by far the worst casting choice would be Mark Wahlberg. He does absolutely nothing to make the character interesting or sympathetic. Punisher Warzone was an over-the-top cartoony film, but still managed to make you feel sorry for the guy who's lost his family. This guy just runs around like he's in a bit of a bad mood because his baseball team lost the night before.
At the end of the day, it's a decent looking film with some good action scenes, and at least carries some of the spirit of the games with it.
It's a film based on an action game with barely any action in, with a plot that can easily be summed up as, and then some skank with a strange tattoo walked up to me in a bar, which ultimately led me to the murderers of my wife and child. Which was nice.
That's what this is about? A drug?